So hopefully we are live and hopefully we have some attendees, but we will see that for the SharePoint Saturday Live 2021. So that's my first thing, speaking in between North America and South America. I think more South America. And you are early in the morning if you attend. Yes, here in Germany we have 2:00 p.m. So we will see what happened in this stuff, and therefore we will see. First, I have to say, for all the sponsors, such an event with so many attendees, we need some sponsors to handle that, and therefore you have to say yes for Latinshare, Ecaminia, IT Proof, Lulo, Novel, and Point Call. That means, and the other one, Samsung TV. Thank you very much for the sponsorships, because without any sponsorships, you cannot handle this. So my presentation is going to OneDrive. So I will tell you a little bit the new thing and where you handle that OneDrive stuff. My name is Hans Brander. Microsoft gave me the name Mr. OneDrive, and I'm a cloud productivity evangelist speaking around the globe. Was on Ignite in Orlando speaking there, and although Ignite tour, which is going around the globe, I have speak in Hong Kong and so on. But the pandemic makes it possible that we have now to less this stuff and going outside, and not only. I miss the in-person events. I have the first one here in Vienna, in Austria, and therefore you see. I'm an MVP since 9 years, and yes, that's I'm married, have one wife in all these years, and 2 kids and 3 grandkids. So that's my life. You can call me, blog to me, to Twitter to me, and all these stuff. You see that, and later on I also have the complete stuff that you can see. Hey, this is the slide deck you see. I'm going always in dark mode, so therefore I have it a little bit different, and therefore we will see. I have to check it out, but for the live demo, what we will do. So the agenda for the next 55 minutes is add to OneDrive, the new way to sync. So we're coming back. Sometimes OneDrive is a little bit difficult, and therefore I will start with the beginners, and then I will go to the architecture, syncing the old ways, and then switch over to add to OneDrive. Some tips and tricks and summary. So that's the complete agenda. OneDrive you can also tell in 6 steps. Navigate to Office 365, sign in, click to OneDrive, click to the sync button, and click yes, yes, no, yes. In that order, and that's done. But anyway, doesn't make no sense. Therefore, coming back, what is not OneDrive? OneDrive is not a network share. It's not a network drive. It's different. Therefore, you have to listen about that. It's not a shared drive. It's not with the letters A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. Nothing before that. It's not only a simply storage location in the cloud, while you have it in different areas. It's just as fast as a network drive. It depends how often and where you're connected via the LAN and the wide area network. Therefore, just as fast as the network drive is suitable for all data types what you may need. Not all, but most of them you need. And it's not like Dropbox, Box, or any other cloud storage. There are simple cloud storage, but OneDrive is a little bit more. So coming back, it provides offline capability not only in Windows. So you can your data stored in the cloud, although with you on your Windows machine or on an Apple machine. That's not the thing. You can do that. It contains metadata directory, the metadata like a history. So it's not only a thing that you can store there, it makes a little bit more with you. It's also a brand. That means sometimes you see, hey, it's OneDrive. And is there other things? Yes, there is OneDrive for Business. There's SharePoint. So many letters you have to learn, and therefore it's a sync technology. That's a different one. It's a sync technology. It's not live, it's all things. It's a sync technology. And it is OneDrive for Business and or OneDrive Personal. That means both together. It's one engine. You can handle that. And that's the most important thing. It's a basis for collaboration. So therefore, you have to say, oh, that's different. What is the basic things we have? That means you can work together on one file with many people, others to the same time. Therefore, you need OneDrive or OneDrive for Business. So here you see the old symbols, because OneDrive is so old, and in the last 8 years or 9 years, I always talk to OneDrive, OneDrive, OneDrive. So I have a slide deck for companies, small companies, mid-sized companies, and enterprise companies, about 500 slides about OneDrive. So there was the old logo. So you have to know, yes, the left side is OneDrive, the next generation sync client we have now. And on the right side, you see the next generation sync client for OneDrive Personal. And the old one was a Groove client. We don't talk about the Groove client anymore, but you need it if you have some SharePoint servers on premises. Listen to that. But the logos has been changed. Therefore, we have now these logos. And therefore, you see, you can have it in the notification area, and you see that later on in the live demo. The thing is, we have to talk to the architecture. Listen, the architecture of OneDrive is very special. It runs normally in the user context, and it will now move a little bit more where we have to normally look for the programs. It comes with 113 different languages. One engine for several instances means you can have up to 9 OneDrive for Business and 1 only for OneDrive. So that's a different what we have. And you have selective sync. You can say, okay, I only want this and this and this. It's a self-update mechanism. That means each day OneDrive is looking, if you start your machine, is looking, is there a new version, and will automatically install. Without any administrator, nothing. You don't need that. And syncs only with Office 365 and SharePoint 2019 on-premise. That's a different one. The story behind of that, if you see on the right side, you see the SharePoint online, you see Office 365, and you see OneDrive Personal. And in the thing, we have a blob storage behind the scene. After the SharePoint, we have Microsoft Azure, and after the SharePoint on Office 365, we also have blob storage. But you don't see these blob storages. And if you have some limits, yes, if you have a library with maximum in a SharePoint library 30 million documents, that makes no sense. But you have to know that the performance decreases if you have one library greater 100,000 files. Not the library for gigabytes or so on. That's not interesting. It's only how many files in there. But that is only on the SharePoint. You can have several libraries below 100,000 files. But think, to connect with the sync engine running on your Windows machine has some limitations. And the limitations are with all the stuff you sync, all. OneDrive, OneDrive Personal, all together 300,000 files. That makes it difficult because I have many customers, the greater ones, they have fighting with all the stuff. And we will say later on, see why Microsoft is doing this stuff edge to OneDrive. So there are some other limits, file lengths, 250 gigs, 400 characters only on the machine for Windows. And yes, no authenticated proxies, and you should not have libraries settings with checkout. But you see that in this library, or later on, you can see the other limits. There are some limits more, but it takes too much time. So thinking about the synchronization, we have an old Groove client, I tell you, with the SharePoint server on premises 2007, 2010, 2013, and 2016. And we have the next generation sync client who do the SharePoint server 2019 on premise, but also doing Office 365 all document libraries, and also document libraries protected with IAM, RMS, or sensitive labels for security things. So you see, that's a different. Microsoft is going cloud, 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 cloud. And yes, for the old ones, you need the old client. syncing the old ways. The old ways means if you have a SharePoint here, you see the SharePoint in the middle, that's the cloud, that's the data centers where we have the data. You see the OneDrive Personal, and you see although some document libraries. If you have more than one, I only tell you here, I have here 3, but anyway, you can have more. And it's although for each people you have in your company, you have OneDrive for Business. Each employee has a OneDrive for Business, and it depends on the storage, 1 terabyte up to 4 terabyte or more. It depends on the storage, what you have bought from Microsoft. So here we have only 3 people, but you have to know, hey, that's different. You may see SharePoint and you see OneDrive for Business and you have 50,000 users, and the administrators can say, okay, 1 terabyte is too less. I say it to 2 terabyte. Okay, then you have in OneDrive for Business 1 terabyte more. But this means, okay, 50,000 multiplies 1 terabyte, that's 50 petabytes. And so many people has to store hard disk. But anyway, that's Microsoft's problem. We do not have the problem. We can fight with all this stuff, and we have several clients without them to work with them together. You see it with on the left side with different, sorry, I have to go back. You see it on the left side with Outlook. You can have all in there and look for document libraries or something else. You should not send original documents. You should send also document library or a link to the document library in SharePoint or to your OneDrive for Business. Windows 10, you can connect Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Office can work directly with SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. And during the web browser, the same is possible. With all the stuff, Word web, Excel on the web, PowerPoint on the web. And Teams is also for SharePoint. Sometimes customers say to me, oh, we are now on Teams, and now we do not need SharePoint anymore. Wrong decision. It is not directly, because the data in Teams, if you have files, are stored in SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. And at least iOS and Android. For multiple things, you have to look what's in there. And therefore, yes, that's the thing we have to look. And add to OneDrive is a little bit thinking. The old stuff, if you see so many files, you can say, okay, sync the whole library, and then you have to say, okay, it's too much. You need that synchronization. And Microsoft has to say, okay, syncing is too much. We have to reduce the stuff, and we have to reduce some possibilities. Therefore, we talk about OneDrive. And add to OneDrive is only a statement. Jeff Teeper say, hey, that's a good thing what we want to have. But it's not only add to OneDrive, it's called add to OneDrive, but it's initially add shortcut to OneDrive or add shortcut to my file. That's the exact definition. Add shortcut to my files and remove a shortcut from my files. And if you know, in the old days, we have shortcut to programs, we have shortcut to folders and so on. Therefore, it's the same. And we have to look what happened. Syncing on the left side, you see I'm user A, I have folder 1, folder 2, folder 3, and I want to share it with another user who has not these documents, and I have to say in folder A2, I want to share it with user A to user B. We have on this one. So the user B has in his OneDrive for Business now the possibility and see my documents. And not only in the browser, he can say, hey, I want to do an add a SharePoint shortcut with it. And then it is done and have to connect to the left side and mean, okay, now he has my data in his Explorer. If it's all done, he can also remove that. That comes in the next thing. User B may add a shortcut to my files. User B may see a new symbol in OneDrive, my files on the web, see the folders and files on the web, and see the folders and files in Windows Explorer, and see the folders and files on other things. Therefore, it's different. It's not only in the Windows File Explorer, it's also on all your machines. For the license, you have the possibilities to have 5, tablets, 5 Windows machines and Mac machines, and you also have some things like smartphones. And therefore, yes, if you take a shortcut, it will immediately do the synchronization on all your machines. If their machines are on, the shortcut will also do through and also on your mobile phone. That means that's a very interesting thing. And if you remove this stuff, you can also handle that. Remove means the files are gone. But also you can have this folder B we have here, can rename this folder A2. The business folder, thinking about Teams. Teams have only a general button. And the general, if you have a general button, you have to rename it because you have more than once, and all these Teams needs a general button. So therefore you can rename the stuff. It's only the rename of the shortcut, and not from the files I have in folder A2. If you rename folder A2 to something like the story, okay, you find it, all the stuff in story, but it's not at me. And in the old days, we have to say, if we change something, it will change also its originator. Therefore, it's a thing. And as I mentioned before, user B removes the shortcut from web or from Windows File Explorer, all files will be removed. That's the thing. You see, I'm in the same organization as user B, because add to shortcut to my files will work only for internal of a company. User B and user A are in the same company. So another thing what we can do, and that means I am a member of a document library named C. And and user B is not member of the document library C, but I have a folder there called D3, and I want to share it with user B. So I do the same and have it now there. That's the same thing what we have, but this folder is not shown in the Explorer. It's the same shown with another icon in there, and therefore you have to say, okay, I want to see it, I want to have it in shared with me, I make a shortcut to my files and so on, and use and remove all the stuff. That means you can also handle that because the data are also gone and not left. Do we have in the classic synchronization. So therefore we have to listen. Hey, that's a great thing. People are looking for that. But thinking what's going on, here is a small video. You have to say, okay, clicking on posters, click add to shortcut to my files, done. And you see in my files now, this icons with posters. And the same thing is done for removing. It's an easy part. It goes very, very quick. And we have to stick for that. Here are some pictures about that. You see that here, that I have more than one organization. That's my OneDrive 1, that's a OneDrive 2, and so on. And you see, although there is nothing in there, but we can do that. And you see this Sabrina folder, that icon is showing, hey, it's a shortcut icon for the library. So we have to look for the next one. Here in my smartphone, I have the same. That's a folder 1, and I have it a little bit bigger that you see that. That's an icon that shows you that's a shortcut. And all the files are there. You can see that. And although here with the remove function, you can remove this stuff. But you have to know, you only can sync once. If you have synced part of a library in your classic style, and then wants to have it as a shortcut, you will get such an error. Means, hey, you have to look if it's there, and not only on this machine. The old classic style means on machine 1, I can sync this stuff, and machine 2, I can this stuff. If I remove it from 1, on the second machine is still another thing. So therefore you have to look. This message means also that you have it on a second machine. On the first, it may run. So therefore it's unable, and therefore you had your attention All is free. You don't have to do that. You can have many shortcuts, and they are looking there. And I will show you now. We are looking here. That's live. And you see, I have 4 of these stuff. That means here is an update. That's a demo tenant for Microsoft. Here, that's my icon. You see, I have a lot of stuff there, settings, and you see I have the normal. Then that's an insider version of the 64-bit, and we have it here. Yesterday, in other version, I have it also, and with this number 21170, and that's an absolute new one. I have, and I'm able. I know the stuff sometimes to see that's OneDrive Personal. And yeah, the last one is here that I also have it for another company. I'm working for them. I have the possibility they give me a license, and therefore I don't need the software because Office 365 I have, but therefore I have here different stuff in there. Therefore, you have to remember, what the holy shit. You see, although on the left side, I have to look for that. B2B marketing and community board and Microsoft 365. That means, yes, these 3 are the libraries. And therefore, we have to switch to another thing. And I have to look if it's there. I have to look for my second screen. Give me a chance. And that's my files. Oh, it's dark mode. I like dark mode, but I have to switch it. It's a little bit better for demonstration in white mode. So you see, that's my tenant, and you see that's a company, OneDrive. Therefore, I know it's OneDrive and not OneDrive for Business. It's OneDrive for Business and not OneDrive. So therefore, I have to look for that. And you see, that's my files, and I have to look for them, what's shared with me. And in the shared, I see the stuff. My wife is working also in the company. And then you see some people who shared with me some folders. And therefore, we have to look for a folder here. Corinna Try is a test person in my environment. Therefore, I can say, what will we do? And if you select this folder, you can press here, add shortcut to my files, or although add shortcut to my file in the upper menu. If you have 2, it will not there. You have to be only 1 folder for this action. And I will do that pressing add shortcut to my files. Done. And now it's inside my files. You see my files first folder, therefore it's from Corinna Try, and for a few seconds. Perfect. That's what I want. And now I switch back, do that down, and see here, first folder, you see? And I can rename this first folder. I can say I want to rename and can say, okay, that's first folder from Corinna, or whatever you want. It changes also only at my side, and therefore you see, I always change it. I make all the underscore. Therefore, this is in my OneDrive for Business, a shortcut to Corinna's OneDrive for Business or whatever we have here. Therefore, you see that, and therefore I take the underscore that I have it at the begin, and that's the rest of the stuff. So you see, if I click on there, you see, hey, I have a cloud group policy, make my own, that say, okay, I want to do it only with files on demand. That means it's only in the cloud. If I want to have that stuff, I can click on it. That's not the issue. So therefore, that's there. And I want to show a little bit more, and I have to look for this here, this guy. And you see that. Wait a second. I have to prepare it, and I have to see that. And maybe later, and then we will see that. So now you see my phone, and therefore with this phone you have the same stuff. We have to go to OneDrive, that's here, and you see here the stuff, and now it's immediately synced, and you see the first folder of tents, and we have to look for the stuff. That's from Corinna. That's a folder with the right name. And back to that, you can also, you have it on all machines. I have more than the machines. Therefore, I have to say, okay, it's okay from there. Clicking on that means you have the possibility to say, and say, that's a German version, means remove. So I do remove it, and that's done. Now the data are not only here in this stuff, but only here. You don't see it anymore. On all machines, gone. So therefore, it's very quick. I do have to work 2 days here, next week with other stuff. Therefore, I can take and I have to say, send me a share. And then I have to say, okay, now I want to reduce this stuff and have it over in my browser and can work with all the files and what we want to do. So that's the thing of the live demo. And we have to start again with this one. Give me a second. So that was a live demo. And now you see at the shortcut, only for people, to conclusion, only for people in your organization, no external. You can have it with external, although if the people remember it, it's on my side, that's gone in the old days, that's also possible, but not for all machines and not for the thing. You have to configure it on your machine where you have to want it. Therefore, only for internal people. Any folder from OneDrive, any folder from any SharePoint document library, you may get an error if you already sync data through shared with me. And for external users who share the folder with files with you, you still must use the synchronization method I mentioned above. That's okay. When choose which sync method? It depends. You cannot say that's the best way. You cannot say this. I think in the future, it depends on the configuration, or let's say on the order hierarchy you have inside your document libraries. If you have a good order hierarchy, you can change it all the way, and therefore we have to look for that. So that's 3 users and a SharePoint library 1 and a SharePoint library 2, and now I make some possibilities. Several people have it with the old thing, manual sync or via group policies. You can handle that automatically. If SharePoint library is marketing, I can say, okay, in this group are these people, and if you come and on board on this company, I already have for you, if you start the first time, use a tree or whatever and start the machine, and the sync is there. That's a group policy we can handle also automatically. Syncing is that, have it also in there, have this library and press the button here under the sync button, and then it's okay. Then the things synchronization the old ways. And then we have it. Here we have it, the documents, and have all the stuff in there. But on the other side, the new one, in a conclusion, you have user 1, user 2, and user 3. The same library. We can also say, hey, it's possible. We can handle that, means we have this SharePoint library, and then we press the button add shortcut to my files, as I mentioned before, and manual sync. That's no automatic. You cannot have it automatic. You has to say to the users, no, there is no automatic. People ask me around the globe, why is not automatically in Teams? Because you decide where you have to sync. It must not be in the first thing. You can go down to any level and say from here, downsize, that's okay for all subfolders, but not for the complete other stuff. That's okay. Some tips and tricks, daily work. So sometimes it's not so easy to say, hey, it's daily work. What will we do? What shall we, and are there any tricks? And the tricks, I not only make for the community, I do such stuff also for Reddit and so on, help the people. For companies, I have to say, you have to pay. Because it's so much stuff, and sometimes you have to know what's there. And listen, tips and tricks, it's very interesting. First, for automatic updates. Sometimes people say, it's humbling and so on, and you do not see the correct version. Again, each day you start your machine, OneDrive looks, the OneDrive engine looks, is there a new version there? And has nothing to do with the OneDrive version. The insider version are very early. That means the 64-bit is with the version 2.1165 coming 8.0815. I know the versions a little bit. There is a final version for the 64-bit. But you don't have to install it manually. You can do that. But sometimes I have to know, hey, why am I so late and so on? That means that's the ring system. But the first thing is you have to open your firewall. Behind this link, there are several things, and two I show you today. That means the automatic things. And that means you have to reach one client SFX, MS, and g.live.com. So that means if they're open, TCP 44380, you see that although here, then it's okay. Sometimes administrators, security administrators say, nope. Then the client will not update. The servers will be updated by Microsoft. And if they are out of order, if you have too many files and so on, you need a newer version. And therefore, there are 3 ring systems. Insider is the early bits each week. We don't need that for normal stuff. But the brother chief ring, that means each month. And the third one is, let's say, 3 to 4 times a year. So Microsoft has to say, if I tell something in the area of new one on the server, some new functionality, they have to wait until all the companies have at least the possibility in the deferred ring, that's the third ring, deferred or enterprise ring, and then they have to say now it's fixed. If the people are not open and got no version, that's a company issue. Therefore, tell the administrators you have to look Office 365 URLs and IP address ranges. And the second one is sometimes the people say, although for small companies, it's so lazy, it's not quick. Why is it not quick? That's the same. You have to allow traffic to star.vns windows.com. So the difference is if you have that, they can take it a push and not a pull. And that takes very, very quicker. Sometimes it's although if you have another location out there and they have another firewall, listen to that. These 2 things we have to know. Yeah. You have to open nothing only that I can reach star.vnswindows.com. That's the 2 things we have in Office 365 for OneDrive. There are a lot more of URLs, but that's not only recommended, it's a must. So for the automatic updates, I tell you, here we have now, that's the newest one, and then all of the ring systems you see. It's in April, they say, okay, at the 5th of April, they come first in the insider version with this 21150, and later on they make it to release production, and later on, now it's rolling out until October, release version deferred ring. That's okay, we can have that. But you see, we are long, 150. You see 5 versions because Microsoft is put all things together, what they are working on, and put it together each day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 versions. You see, 165, 170, 160 to 165, 155. So they make it very clearly when it's run, and therefore we see what we are having. So in the old days, and that starts in April, they have a pre-version of the 64-bit, because in the old days, before that, we have only 32-bit versions. If you have a Windows only with 32-bit, you still need a 32-bit, but it goes a little bit quicker, a little bit. Nowadays, it's ready, but the performance could be done in the next days inside because they have moved all the 32-bit code and make it available a little bit better. That means if you have many files, you should do a 64-bit version. It will take it automatically. If you have a 64, you don't have to do it manually. So you see that, and you see also, I have to show you, because Microsoft is not doing the insider version, and I described the insider version, and therefore you found all the information. And if you are seeing here, if you want to do the insider version, you can install it from here. That's the same version Microsoft is doing, and you can download it, or the 64-bit, whatever you want. But sometimes it's a long story, and you have a complete list about all these stories, about all the versions we have. Sometimes I have no further information because Microsoft gives no information about that. And I call to Microsoft 2 to 3 or 4 times, and therefore, okay, I have a good connection, but it takes too much to do for them. And that means, yes, all the versions we have, I also have to say that's 60, that's only Windows version. And you see here is the first one. That's the first. At 8th of April, they have the first preview of the 64-bit. And now it's 2 weeks or something that they say it's final. And therefore, it goes down and down and down and down and down. You see, it's in 17. All the versions are available, although the Mac versions are available. And although I only have for Android and iOS, I have these tables, but you have it go directly. It makes no sense with all the stuff. And therefore, you see what versions are still out. That's my thing, what I have to say from here. I have to go back and look for that. Therefore, all the versions are there. Sometimes I know some insiders, because around the planet, people have to say, hey, I found a new thing. It's not so easy to see that, because they see what's better or what's not better, or a new group policy. Although you have 40 group policies to have for steering your complete stuff in there. Okay, so we have to see that. And then I have a summary for you, what we have to do. If you need some more information, you have to look on different pages at Microsoft. The first one is a OneDrive blog. They make a lot laugh. Last week at the 14 days, they make an announcement about the universal print. Yes, if you only have stuff in the cloud and have no environment, they can do that, but the company has to say, okay, universal print, all the prints you have in the Active Directory will then print. That's a part that will have it also integrated on the web version of OneDrive, and have to say, hey, I want to directly take the universal print integration. Or sometime end of support for OneDrive Sync app from Macintosh. That's the old ones. Or sometimes OneDrive new photo editing features. That's very interesting. You have to look for there and have to say, okay, that's interesting for me. That's the first one. The second one, if you have some articles, a little bit more about the articles. And therefore you see my last article was OneDrive about the 64 version and group policies. I will start with a series about group policies and make some videos, although what you handle that, because it's with writing, it's a long story. I have this in German and I have this for you also in English. And the last one is that you also have to look for the roadmap. The roadmap is although in Office 365, and you can look, if you spell it only for OneDrive, 16 something is in development, 16 are rolling out. If they're rolling out, it takes some time. It may be that you got the version before me. So that's a special thing. Although with this OneDrive, new versions for the chat and the engine, because if I'm sitting on the desk and on the other side, the people have the old version, because that's not only one thing, because the servers are overheated other sides at Microsoft. Therefore, they have it special in this stuff, and it will come automatically. You don't have to look, hey, why do you have a version before me? It depends. I have a computer in my video room that the new version comes first on Wednesday. And yesterday I come on this machine I now present. Therefore, you don't have to do that, but all these things. Looking also for the release date. The release date also it's in April, and that means, hey, 2020, it's still not there. That means sometimes you have to look what's in there, and therefore you can see what's happened, what's rolling out, and what is launched. So therefore you can click on that and see what's going on. And last, I also have some recommendations, because I have so many people saying, hey, it's critical. You can have all these things, and see what's happened. I will show you this stuff and go back and go here. In the live demo again, means in the settings. If you see this configuration, I have 5 configuration stuff here, not only my OneDrive for Business and not only other stuff, means although with the backup folders, this configuration is never stored anyway. To rethink again, if your machine goes wrong, you have to do it manually. This is only 1. I have 4. That means if this machine is going out, it takes me an hour. And therefore, I write this stuff and have to say, hey, it's a little bit better. We have to look for that again. Where is it? Oops. Here is it. So, and you see, you can vote for that you can manage that. We need some votes because Microsoft has to say, okay, only for 3 people. It's nothing. I think we have 300 or 150. I have no information. You only have to look for this. I can press it, vote it here, or take a look later on. Therefore, it's not an issue. You do that. One more thing, because we have to be with answers and questions. One more thing is, yes, I will come back today. And with what? With the community bot for OneDrive. In 2 hours, I will come back, and that means, no, not in 2 hours. There's one session after me at 3 o'clock in my time, and at 4 o'clock, then I came with a story about community bot for OneDrive. I only have to say, what is that? That's a bot that runs in Teams. You have a question about OneDrive? You can give it and send it to me, but sometimes I have to sleep. And therefore, we have to say, okay, we built not only me with AI features and also a bot that runs inside Teams. And this is a good thing that you can call him anywhere on the planet. The 250 million monthly users may able to call the community bot. It doesn't cost anything. You have to listen for the session in 1 hour, and therefore it looks what has happened there. I need sleep. He doesn't sleep. Version 1 is available now in the Teams App Store, but anyway, look for that. And for this session, it was very early in the morning. Okay. And that means you can also have the slides for that. That means bit.ly, OneDrive 210904 with this, or make a picture from that. You have the slides available for this session. And although the recording may be later, it's a live session, but although there is a possibility to look what has Hans provided. So that's the thing, and we have to look for that. If there are any questions, I will answer these questions. But with live, that's a special thing. We have to look. If there are anything, it's not so easy. I have to look the Q&A. If there are any Q&As from outside, it's open and published are 3. Let me look. Buenos dias. Any responsible change for Windows 11? No. It's the same because OneDrive has the same thing. With one exception, I do not feel that. I have one machine here with Windows 11, and I switched yesterday to Windows 11 late next year. And it's still the same. There is no change in that, not representative change. Yes, sometimes I need 2 clicks, not only 1, to find an online version. If you are on the Explorer and you need more information about that, what's out there, and so on, and look for that, I have to switch to the online version. That takes now 2 clicks. So therefore, it's a representative change because it takes my time and your time also. But for the thing, it's integrated with all the stuff and you can handle that, but it works very well with the old versions. It's okay, but sometimes I change the UI and that's another thing. Any other questions? I have to listen. Let me look what that means for me. And because I do not speak, and what that means. Translation from Spanish. Welcome. Yes, you can speak in English or Spanish. Thank you, John Martinez.
Thank to you. I have another question, but this question is in Spanish. I think is OneDrive needs a premium connector to connect with the Power Automate.
Ooh, yes, I think so, because Power Automate is a function you do not have in OneDrive. The difference about the stuff is OneDrive Personal is only, you can have it as many as you want, but only with 5 gigabytes free storage. And the thing about, you can only sync once, but the thing is, there is only a small layer between the OneDrive Personal and the stuff with OneDrive and the layer of Azure, because both I have it sent it in the early thing that you only have it with OneDrive Personal, it also in Azure, but there is no SharePoint between. So that means in SharePoint, if you write a document in there, you can have each change. It tells you, okay, that's not a new version. It's only a new version inside of SharePoint. SharePoint can handle that. I have an Excel sheet that has now 560 versions. That's not a problem. In OneDrive Personal, they make it a little bit different. That's not OneDrive and not SharePoint technology, but they make it also available for 30 versions. So therefore, I think Power Automate is not available. Simple. You need the business account of OneDrive for Business. Yes.
Perfect, Hans. No more questions here. So, Hans, thank you so much. I love your t-shirt because our community rocks. Our community is the best. So thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge with us. It's really, really important for us.
Yeah, no problem. Next time you have a session, that was a good idea. And if sometimes we will also, I do not know, you have it also online, not only online, but in person events. It's a long story flying over the planet. I have done it with Boston. That takes me a 7 hours flight only for one session. And it takes so much money. And now it's a little bit better. I have spoken several times in US. I was eight times in India. If you have a local group and want to have a session, whatever, the time has to be matched. That means, okay, in the evening, this is 5 hours difference if you have this time, but I can also have it for a local user group. If they have the possibility, you can have it say, yes, I want to do that, and I will do. Therefore, I will have only again the slide with this stuff here that we see that, because if people are there and you can also to the people can say, okay, I want to do it, and please give the possibility. I am available. We have to look for the date and the time, and then it's done. Whatever you want about and know about OneDrive. It's a lot story. If I talk to companies, I talk 2 days. Because people, I have no chance to follow all the stuff. And people have to say, oh, it's complicated. It's not complicated. But about thinking about rights. If you have rights, I share with you a file or I share with you a folder. There is different. Inside, outside, anonym, not anonym, and all the stuff. I have 100 slides about that. That means if you see that for the companies, they need that, and therefore I need 2 days. Otherwise, they have no chance.
I know, perfect. Okay. We we hope to see you in the next face-to-face Ignite.
Yeah,
In
hopefully,
the
when the
next
Ignite, yes.
presential Ignite, right?
And that's very interesting because I love all this stuff, and we have several people. I talk to the Microsoft people very well, and they are called me Mr. OneDrive. That's not me, because I think I make it now the 8 of years. Sometimes the people only tell about the news, and I do the deepest stuff, and I learn. Myself learn every, let's say, once a week new stuff about that. So therefore you have to know, yeah, where are the logs, what are there, and this one, and the community bot that knows about stuff. We can look for that, what we will have in a few minutes. We have a little bit time. If you have no questions, let me look for this one. So here is the community bot run, and it's in English, therefore you can have questions. And let's say, okay, I can ask him, add to OneDrive. And it gives it the same what I have saying. It takes a second, you have a picture in there, and at the end of 2020, there's insiders, and sometimes you can read what it's all about that. It's only a short version here, and with some follow-up, and make sometimes difference of classic sync and add shortcut to my files. So that means, okay, clicking on that, that's another thing. You don't have to type. There is a synchronization. You see, that's the same what I want to do in 1 hour, but with a different, with plus and minus, what is good, what is bad about of all the things. But also 5 steps to sync with shortcuts. So it's all what you have to do. And the description comes from Microsoft sometimes, or only docs.microsoft.com. And the other one, what I have in German or English language, I block in 2 different ways and have all these stuff there. Therefore, you can have it, and it's free. You only have to wait here the apps and have to look. Here's the community bot, or you have to look for CEO. If you are not able to see that, ask your administrators of the companies, click on that, and then it runs. It's free for this version, but the administrators have to say sometimes, yes, you can do that. And therefore, it's in 2 versions, and it learns a lot, because it learns a lot. It's not only that we have to say, hey, that it's possible, what you have showed here, activity and chat, that's a normal, you can look for that and say 64-bit. And it's automatically come with them, and you see when it's there, and it's this release with version. So if Microsoft is doing some stuff, I have to do it. Jeff Tiefer asked me, hey, that's great, because they cannot handle all the stuff, and therefore I make it for the people. Today I have to have written an article, or have written something lock, OneDrive locks, OneDrive lock, lock. And you see that's in the morning I was there, where are the logs of OneDrive, and you see where although the installation, you see that's as a GIF, you can see where is the installation of all the stuff, and then you can see where are the setup files and so on. So therefore, it's an easy part what you can have. A little bit more, and it's a fight against the bot, against me. Therefore, I need a co-moderator, and that will come in 1 hour.
Yeah, it's perfect. This is a new word. This is a word of application in Microsoft Teams. I love it.
Yeah, if you think about the old days, that was a good thing. I'm coming from an age where we have to install with diskettes, the big ones, the smaller ones, with CDs, with DVDs, with NetShare. And now you can bring the stuff and bring it open. We want to have it in more languages like Spanish, but the difference is not so easy. We are working first on the new ones and the new things, because people ask several things that are not in there. So therefore, we have to relax on that. And after that, we want to look what we can do. Not because the stuff is not only that we can say, hey, it's only a small thing. We need a little bit more, because if you are formatting the stuff, that's not so easy. If you call the idea behind, and you will hear that we talk about a little bit more, not only the showing, is a little bit that you have to see which language are you talk. And then we translate it and look in the English version of the database, and then translate it again back to the language you have given in. And therefore, it's a little bit tricky here on the eastern parts of the language. It will not work. But you have to say to free, the next one have to go there. And I was a little bit quick today. And that for me, it's interesting to have all these development. It makes so much fun, but it's also a long story, because first we want to have it a name. I want to show that, and it calls Mr. OneDrive Spot. I do not have the idea. The idea comes from two MVPs from Austria. That's a neighbor country here in Germany to Austria. It's only some kilometers. It's not so far away, but we were in Vienna 2 years ago, and they say to me, okay, that's an issue. We want to digitize you. Do you want to what? Digitize you. Now, my knowledge, that wasn't a thing. And 3 months later, we were in Munich, and during some drinks, they present a mock-up of this bot. Anyway, the last story, the technical, I will show in an hour, but the short story about this, that we have to fight with Microsoft. Because Mr. OneDrive Spot, there is something, no product name in it. And we have to go to the vice president, that's Omar Shaheen, and he has to say, okay, maybe community bot for OneDrive is a good name. There's also OneDrive in it, but if the vice president says it is a good thing. You see, marketing do a lot of stuff, sometimes bad stuff. With the story about OneDrive, people do not realize OneDrive and OneDrive for business. See, OneDrive means OneDrive for business. That's so complicated, but only the marketing guys are the difficult. Therefore, they say it's OneDrive. Which OneDrive? So, and therefore, they only want, yesterday came a new version about Windows 11. And it crashes on different things. And the people has to know what behind the scene. That was from advertising teams inside. And that crashes the complete machine. So therefore, it's typical. It's the marketing stuff. And therefore, several people cannot have the version running. After 5 minutes, they cannot. There was no bar inside, and there were things they cannot run it. And that was advertising from the marketing time for Microsoft. Therefore, I do not have a good word for the marketing stuff, people. But anyway, okay. I come back in an hour.